quick video because I feel a little inspired. Just woke up. I'm going to go back and take a shower. My hair is a little messy, so don't worry about that. I just want to say, a very dear old friend of mine told me, it's almost 20 years ago. He said, Fred, you know the way to get rich, right? And I go, Guy, what is the way to get rich? And he's like, the way to get rich is you find a freight train that's going and you jump on the freight train. That's the way to get rich. And I love that analogy because I think you're not going to get rich by value investing. You're not going to pick up things that people have neglected for years and they're down and out. That doesn't work anymore. We're in a world where, there's these things that are accelerating, like Bitcoin, like tech, AI specifically. And you want to jump on one of these trains. And, these trains are very volatile. They're scary. Bitcoin is scary. It moves. It can drop 10% in a day, no problem. Okay. And a lot of people say, ooh, it's too scary for me. I just want to get something like real estate because I just can't handle that. But you have to look at the big picture, and the world is changing dramatically. And you don't want to be in bonds or real estate. Right? You don't want to just have something that earns a steady 4% a year, 5% a year. That's just a sure way to destroy capital. You want to get on a freight train. Now, what is the freight train that's going the fastest? Well, Bitcoin, the first transaction was in May of 2010. And a gentleman named Laszlo bought 2 pizzas, Papa John's pizzas, for 10,000 Bitcoin. And let's just say 2 pizzas got $50. That puts the price of Bitcoin at half a penny per Bitcoin. So we've gone from half a penny to over $100,000. That's 2 million X. It went up 2 million X in 15 years, 15 and a half years. Now, that's kind of mind-boggling. There's not a lot of assets that have gone up 2 million X. In fact, there are no assets that have gone up that much. A lot of people are like, well, I can find something. No, you can't. If you bought Microsoft shares at the IPO, you're up 3,000x. If you bought Google shares at the IPO, you're up, 500x. If you bought NVIDIA shares, you're up 2 million X at the IPO. 2,000x. So, if you got in at the very Series A of Apple, maybe you're up 150,000, 200,000, but there's no assets out there where anybody could have bought these assets and they were up 1 million X. That just does not exist. So Bitcoin is the fastest train. Now, a lot of people are going like, well, is it the fastest train right now? Is it the fastest train right now? It is, but it may go down for a bit, to pull back up and go back up. Now, everybody's like, well, I need to pick my entry. I need to get in exactly at the right time. I don't want to buy it now and have it go down 10%. That's not how these trains work, right? These trains, when they leave the station, they don't give any advance warning. They don't say, all aboard, get on board. We're about to trip 3x here. That doesn't exactly work that way. The way it works is in the depths of despair, the market just starts rallying. It looks terrible, and it's rallying for no reason whatsoever. There's no catalyst for it to move. There's no reason. There's just a lot of bearish sentiment. And that's how these markets work. And that's how Bitcoin has gone from half a penny to over $100,000. Not quite 100,000 today, but who cares? I mean, 90,000 or 100,000, it's the same number on that scale. So Now, how has it gone up there? Well, if I told you it went like this, and I told you it was at, $100,000, 6 years ago, you'd have said, well, it's just kind of some oscillating thing. But actually, it's going up in a straight line in log space. You don't have to be a mathematician to look at that and say, it's growing logarithmically on log time, which is a power law. Very simple math. And the R squared, which says, the consistency of the growth along this logarithmic path, is actually 96%. So it's growing very steadily in log terms. Now, I could get into the address growth and everything, but it doesn't matter. Just that alone tells you that we have a steady growth, although with significant volatility in log space. There is, but if you hold on to it long enough, it's going to go up and it's going to keep going up. So that's not a model. That's just an observation of how Bitcoin's gone up over the last 15 years. This is not like an astrological model like the plan B was, right? This is just what's the price of Bitcoin? How would you describe the price of Bitcoin? The best description of the price of Bitcoin over the last 15 years is it grows up in log space at a slope of 5.6, 5.8. Okay, that's the best description of Bitcoin there is. And that's it. It's very simple. Now, forget models. If you see something that went up 2 million times in 15 years, okay, you have to ask yourself, and it's going with very high regularity up. You have to ask yourself, is that a freak thing? Now, what do I want to do? Do I want to rather buy this and see how it goes over the next 15 years? Or do I want to sell this thinking that was it? You get all these people on Bitcoin Twitter right now that are literally saying, sure, it went up 2 million times over 15 years. Sure. But, it's down from the high that it made 2 months ago. 2 months ago, it's down 28%. And therefore, you should short it or you should not be involved. That's the logic. And most incredible is the same people who say, you know what, Fred, this log stuff, I'm not into this log stuff. I don't believe in this log stuff. Those same people are saying, you know what, Fred, there's this halving that implies there's a cycle. And 18 months after the halving, the market has to go down. Excuse me, what? Excuse me. So we're going from 450 Bitcoin mined per day to 225 Bitcoin mined per day. And that'll happen in 2 years. And somehow that minuscule adjustment of Bitcoin, minuscule, those 200 Bitcoin, this is not a big number, okay, of difference at this point. It was, in 2011, it was a big difference. Not today, okay? That has no impact. So there's a logical inconsistency here. It's not just people don't understand models. There's a logical inconsistency of people saying, you know what, I'm going to ignore this very steady growth in log terms because I don't like the word log. I'm going to ignore that because I'm not mathematical and because models are bad and models can't predict the future. So I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore kind of reality, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm instead going to take this other model, which is a model that relates to halving, which involves 3 cycles. And that's my model. So all I can say is this is nonsense. And this is not the way to get rich. Go back to the first thing I said, which is the way to get rich, you got to find a train. You got to get on that train. You got to stay on the train. If you get off the train, you don't get rich. So to use a train metaphor, I would say this. A bunch of people got on the train a couple of years ago. Maybe they got in 2017. Maybe they got in 2021. Doesn't matter, right? And they're going to get off the train. They got off the train. They got off the train in October, November. And now they're really happy that they got off the train. They're like, you know what? I got off the train. I'm so smart. I am so smart, Fred. I got off the Bitcoin train. I timed the market. You know what? Those people are never getting back on the train. Never. And, when Bitcoin goes to 150, 200,000, 250,000, they're going to be very quiet. Or they're going to say, I still had a few Bitcoin that I put in some secret sold stash somewhere. So I'm actually bullish on Bitcoin. You're going to see a little bit of that come out, right? We're already seeing people prepare for that. You get like bears like James Wynn, like it's going down. But I have some Bitcoin. That's just bullshit. This is complete and utter bullshit. It's like you don't sit there and say, oh, I got all this other Bitcoin, but I'm shorting the hell out of Bitcoin. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Okay. And they don't post these bear posts like Wynn is posting. You don't post that unless you're actually really short. And you actually have no Bitcoin outside of your Bitcoin. You don't. You're short. You're short, but either long or you're short. So I think these guys, shorts are just going to get killed. They're going to get taken out like the end of trading places. That's it. And that's it. And that's my post today.